Hey guys, welcome to Juicy Tea, where I read out the best stories on Reddit, so you don't have to. The funny, shocking, and satisfyingly juicy. Bride's family doesn't order the cake/catering and doesn't tell the bride until days before the wedding. Posted by Jill Keys. A couple of years ago, my husband and I went to a friend's wedding. We'd never met the bride, but she seemed very sweet. The ceremony and reception were held inside a rustic barn-type venue, very tastefully decorated. After the ceremony, I overheard the bride remark to the groom about how pretty the cake had turned out. In hindsight, her tone was a bit odd. She'd sounded relieved, as though she'd been unsure of what the finished product would look like. Later, we found out that the bride had delegated the cake and catering to her family, who assured her it'd be taken care of. But, not more than 3 days before the wedding, the bride called her future mother-in-law in tears. Her family had never gotten around to ordering the cake or catering, and she'd only just now been informed. Future mother-in-law sprang into action. A friend was a skilled baker, and she could make a small, naked wedding cake. And in case that wasn't enough dessert, they placed a milk and cookie station next to it. And for the last-minute catering, they called up the groom's favorite taco place, who set up a taco bar at the wedding. The ceremony and reception were both beautiful, and as guests, we would have never known there was ever a problem. Would I be the a-hole for refusing to let my mother-in-law wear my wedding dress for a vow renewal? Posted by a throwaway account. I, 24 female, got married to my husband Marcus, 25 male, 3 months ago. It was absolutely wonderful, and went off without a hitch. My mother-in-law Rose and my father-in-law David are gonna get their vows renewed in about a month from now. They both said that my wedding inspired this. I was happy for them and I thought it was a great idea. My parents did the same thing, but on a smaller scale when I was 19. However, a week ago, Rose came to me with a request that she wear my wedding dress since she was forced to sell hers when Marcus was a kid. She said she didn't want to spend the money on a brand new wedding dress. I was shocked and just told her that I would think about it. I thought about it and honestly, I don't want her to wear it. I want to preserve it for my future daughter or granddaughter, and the dress would have to be altered in order to fit my mother-in-law. I'm also afraid of it possibly getting stained or torn, since Rose is clumsy and has ruined expensive clothes of mine and her own because of it. The fabric is delicate, and part of it is white, which is notoriously hard to get stains out of. Rose has been texting me, wanting to know my answer, and I haven't told Marcus about her request yet. Edit. The reason mother-in-law asked me, instead of renting a dress, is because she doesn't think clothing should be rented out, and she'd feel uncomfortable wearing a stranger's dress when I suggested these options. I personally find it super creepy whenever mothers want to wear their son's bride's wedding dress, or even white to their son's wedding. Why is this such a common thing? This comment from Nutcracker78 basically sums up how I feel about it. As a mother of a son and soon-to-be daughter-in-law, I honestly can't imagine anything more disturbing and revolting than wanting to wear her wedding dress. What will the next request be? Oh, now we've renewed our vows, we want to take a holiday. What hotel did you guys stay in for your honeymoon? And what room number? We want to get the same bed. Ew, 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 yuck, yuck, yuck. Oh, that's so creepy. I hope OP puts her foot down and refuses. Am I the a-hole for turning down my stepdad's offer to walk me down the aisle? Trigger warning for parental and child loss. Posted by Diligent Definition 33. I, 27 female, have chosen to walk down the aisle alone on my wedding day. The choice was made for 2 reasons. My dad died when I was 7, and he would have been my number 1 choice if he was alive, but he's not. And 2, my mum has made it perfectly clear that she'd find it disrespectful to my stepdad if she was to walk me down the aisle, so she won't do it. Given that both my parents are out, and I don't want to ask my grandparents to do too much, my grandma and I are already sharing a special dance. Walking alone is what feels the most comfortable thing to do. I considered asking my stepdad, and I knew he'd want to do it, but if I'm honest, it would make me sad to have him walk me down the aisle instead of my dad. I think my stepdad is a good man, and he has tried his very best to be a dad for me, but I didn't want a dad when I lost mine. I wanted my dad. Nobody else is ever going to be able to fill that role in my heart. I asked my mum and stepdad if they'd like to do a joint toast or 2 separate ones, or if they'd like to walk down the aisle or dance to a particular song. While discussing this, my stepdad asked who would be walking me down the aisle. I told him I was walking alone. He offered to do it, and I said it was a lovely offer, but I'd walk alone. He pressed me on why, and I said it felt like the best option. He said it would mean the world to him if he could do it, if just once he could feel like he's a real dad and not just second place to my dad. I told him I understood, but it was not an option on the table. He said he was already being shamed by having to watch me dance with my grandma when it should have been a father-daughter dance. But to have everyone watch me walk alone when they know I have a stepdad is going to send a very big message. I know people will ask about the details on our relationship, so here are the details. I met my stepdad when I was 9, and he married my mum when I was 10. He offered to adopt me and give me his last name, but I turned him down 5 times in 8 years that I lived with him. He was married before my mum and lost his wife and unborn baby in an accident. He was also made sterile by the same accident. He always longed to be a dad. We got along well, but our relationship was always more to him than it was to me. Where he sees a daughter and wants a daughter, I see a good man and someone who is a great spouse to my mum and is good to me, but does not feel the father role that he wants to emotionally for me. Physically he did, but emotionally I've never felt like he was my dad. And everyone in our lives is aware that I feel like I have one dad, and my stepdad is my stepdad. My mum and stepdad are not paying or contributing to the wedding in any way. My fiancé and I both have savings and we're putting those into the wedding. It's going to be a small private wedding. My mum and my stepdad say I'm rude and heartless for turning down the offer. Am I the a-hole? That's not an offer, it's a demand. This guy has an issue with boundaries, doesn't he? Offered 5 times to change her last name to his. I wouldn't blame her for feeling like she's erasing her dad if she did that. Cousin won't pay for my ruined wedding dress. Posted by Mrs. Bunnypants 26. I got married in 2019. My grandma, who is also my cousin's grandma, was a professional seamstress and made an absolutely beautiful wedding dress for me. She made them for all the brides in our family, but she passed away early last year. My cousin got engaged about a year ago and begged to use my dress since we're about the same size. It's important to note, this isn't a family wedding dress. My grandma made one for each of us. I agreed as long as she would pay for the dress to be cleaned and preserved after she was done with it. I was very clear this would cost about $200 and she was okay with that. As a wedding gift to her, I paid for minor alterations, which came out to about $250. So she had a wedding 2 weeks ago, and last week she returned my gown. She left it on the porch while I was out. I opened up the dress, and not only is it still dirty, it's ruined. There are food stains practically smeared into the fabric, and it's torn in several places. One sleeve is half torn off. It must have happened at the wedding after party, which my husband and I didn't go to as we had to get home to our babysitter. I called my cousin immediately, and she didn't answer. I kept calling until she picked up, and she was like, "Oh, just get it cleaned and send me the bill." I told her how upset I was with her and that this was not okay. I said I was going to bring it to the cleaners and a seamstress and tell her how much it would cost, if they could even fix it. She rushed me off the phone and said she would send me money. She still hasn't, despite me asking many times. The seamstress can fix my dress, but the dry cleaners tell me it will basically be impossible to get the stains out. There's literally a sauce stain at the bottom, as if she sat on a pizza. They said they'd try, but between the seamstress and the cleaning, plus the preserving, it cost at least $600. So I sent my cousin pictures and everything, and she ignored me. I kept calling and calling until finally her husband picked up and said they were going to pay for the $200, but not the rest, because that's what we agreed to, and to stop bothering them. I said that I planned to take her to court. I have text messages showing that she agreed to the cleaning and everything. She's saying it's usual wear and tear, but it's definitely not. My aunt has called me a bunch of times, saying I'm a horrible person for threatening to sue a newlywed couple, and she's trying to turn the whole family against me. My aunt and cousin pointed out that we didn't even bring a wedding gift, and now we're adding insult to injury by threatening to sue. But when I was texting my cousin, I was very clear that us paying the $250 for alterations was our gift. In my mind, that's a lot of money to spend already. I don't know what to do at this point. I wanted my daughter to be able to wear this dress one day if she wanted to. I'm so upset. My parents offered to pay to get the dress repaired, but they shouldn't have to. Not to mention, the dress might be too stained to fix anyway. What do I do? Take it to court for just the $200? Or the $600? Just leave it and let my parents pay to keep the piece? They can afford it, but I don't want them to. Yikes! Sounds like she didn't really have that much respect for your grandma's handmade dress after all. Can you sue for sentimental value? I'd still keep the dress and offer to have the dress remade, using whatever fabric can be salvaged for your daughter, in whatever style she wants. So then at least she can still have a piece of her grandma with her, even if it's not the exact same style. Am I the a-hole for telling my son he needs to get over us missing his wedding? Posted by AdeptAd4256. My son got married a few years ago. He lives on the other side of the country than us. He got a great job opportunity after college, so he moved. 2 years ago, he got married to Jenny, and from what I heard, it was a beautiful wedding. So the whole issue started when we were trying to get there. The wedding was on a Saturday, and our plane left Thursday night. Well, it got delayed, and then delayed another 4 times. Friday morning at this point. And then all the planes got cancelled due to a storm. When that happened, it was clear that we were not leaving, and driving there would take too long, 36 hours, and we'd still miss the ceremony. So we informed him, and he was pissed. We sent our well wishes and said we could FaceTime in if he wanted. He told us no, and we saw a video of him getting married. Now the present day issue. Anytime we get in any argument, or he wants us to do something, he pulls the "we missed his wedding" card. We were talking over the phone about hosting Thanksgiving this year. He got mad, saying, "Why won't you visit us?" And I told him, we don't have the money for a trip and we just saw him in July. Yes, we went to him. We got into an argument and he pulled the "you missed our wedding, it's the least you can do." I told him enough and that he needs to get over it. He called me a jerk. I was all ready to say that you were the a-hole. But yeah, a massive storm between you and the wedding seems a pretty reasonable reason to not go. What was he expecting you to do? Drive through a storm all night? This guy can sure hold a grudge. Remember, I post new content every day, so subscribe for more juicy tea.